Pause. Here we go. Awesome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to my group meeting. My name is Zachar, although my family is on here and they will call me Zach. So don't be fooled. I am the same person.
Yes, you are.
So yeah, thanks for coming in. I am studying holistic nutrition right now and specializing in sports. Ooh, somebody else came. Hey, Rose, welcome. We just got started, so you're right on time. My name is Zachar. I am studying holistic nutrition right now with a specialization in sports nutrition and behavioral change. And I'm just really excited to have you all here. This is my first group meeting. And yeah, I just love gathering knowledge and sharing it with everybody as much as I can, which is one of the reasons why I decided to take on this this profession, so I can do it professionally and get paid. Awesome. Oh, Asa, you're in here twice. Okay, no worries. So today I have 3 objectives that I'd like to cover. One, and sorry, the topic today is nutrition for depression and anxiety, which pretty much go hand in hand, and the nutrition for both of them is essentially the same as far as I found. So I'd like to cover 3 different topics. One being probiotics, the next being the nutrients that can be helpful, especially the B vitamins, B9 or folate, and B12, as well as a little touch on magnesium and omega-3s. And then the third topic will be anti-inflammatory foods. And yeah, that'll be fun. So I'd like to also start off with a little icebreaker so you all can just say hello and we can go through. And I just, I figured I'd start off kind of in the thread of this and ask anybody what, excuse me, what you all might choose to eat when you're feeling anxious or depressed. What ways do you like to nourish yourself? Mom, you want to start off? I see you nodding.
Well, I've always been the kind of person that eats their feelings. Mm-hmm. And I think I tend to go towards sweet, crunchy things. So
crunchy things. Okay.
Yeah, like that.
Ari, how about you?
Yeah.
So I would also say typically if I'm like anxious or feeling depression, I would definitely go for sweet crunchy as well. Mm-hmm. But in recent times, as I've been kind of learning more about nutrition, I've been drinking infusions of herbs when I'm feeling anxious or depressed rather than eating.
Right on. Drinking different teas instead of...
Yeah, so that's kind of where I gravitate towards if I'm like, oh man, I'm like super depressed today or feeling super anxious. I need to drink my tea.
Nice. That sounds like a good go-to, especially because you're hydrating at the same time.
Yes.
Cool. How about you, Suzanne? What would your go-to foods be if you're feeling anxious or depressed?
Chocolate.
Chocolate.
Chocolate, ice cream and peanut butter.
Which can all be combined.
Anything that's not good for me. Bread.
Chocolate's
cheese.
Not that bad for you, especially when it comes to nutrients for depression, which we'll get onto later.
Yeah.
Rose, you want to jump in? How about you?
Hi.
Hi.
So my go-to when I'm feeling kind of bummy is I love pastries. I love cinnamon buns. I love brownies. I love cookies. I love ice cream, all those things. And then eventually at some point I'll be like, okay, this is ridiculous. And then I just go to eating just steamed vegetables and just because it's the easiest thing. And then that's usually the point. Yeah, that's my go-to.
Cool. Thanks for sharing.
Oh.
Kels, how about you? You want to hop in here? I know you said you weren't feeling super well, so if you want to just stay on the listen, that's totally okay too. Okay, I think we're going to stay on the listen for Kels. Asa, how about you? Anything?
Yeah, well, in recent times, I've noticed that I have really enjoyed eating berries and fruits, particularly berry fruits, the very sweet ones. In the past, of course, it was comfort food, but in recent times, it's been mostly fruits, sweets, natural sweets, yeah, things of that nature. I also like to have a nice warm cup of something milky with something sweet, you know, like a coffee with a lot of cream, that kind of thing.
Nice. Nice, going back for the, yeah, always with the sweets for me too. I feel that. How about your mama?
Oh yeah, when Suzanne said chocolate, it's like, yes, chocolate,
Asa's
definitely. Oh, Ace's mom. I'm sorry, I thought she said.
Okay, there's two mamas here.
Okay, Ace's mom, go.
Shadow, hi. Well, I am on the same path as you. Yeah, I was doing holistic nutrition, so I have a lot of knowledge. What I like to do is actually I like to do spirulina, or anything that would help increase my heart rate, like doing cardio, because that is going to help balance out your hormones and help put you more in control of your emotions.
Yeah.
So when your cardiovascular system is really balanced, and then giving it really saturating it with nutrients like using spirulina, then you're going to get a really good balance on how you're going to think. You're going to get the oxygen going to your brain, and then you won't make bad decisions for nutrients.
Yeah, I read about that recently, how when we're feeling anxious, if our heart rate increases, it can be a really good practice to get really physical and give ourselves a physical reason for our heart to be beating that fast. And
Absolutely.
that's a great practice. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for sharing, Moonshadow. I appreciate that little tidbit in there. I'm actually supposed to just focus on nutrition myself personally in this, because there's like all kinds of other things that I wanted to add in this, and my teacher's like, just focus on the nutrition because that's what you're doing. But I'm glad that you brought that up, because that is a really great practice to do. Okay, so first, I'd like to start off with my first objective as probiotics. The great thing about probiotics is that they are the fuel of our gut brain, which science is discovering more and more how our gut and our brain are linked via the vagus nerve, especially, and it's not just a one-way street. It now goes back and forth between the two. There's our enteric nervous system and our central nervous system, which essentially communicate with each other. So when we get a gut feeling about something, it's literally our nervous system in our gut that's telling us something's going on. About 80 to 90% of our serotonin and a bunch of other neurotransmitters, norepinephrine, dopamine, GABA, and noradrenaline are all created in our gut, and those are created by a slew of different microorganisms. And even though probiotics that are on the market or probiotics that we can make won't actually colonize our large intestine, they will go in there, and then there's gene transfer that happens between them and an effect that they have on all of the other microorganisms that do colonize our gut. Though via the different foods that we eat, we can have different balances of the microorganisms in our gut. So it's great how we can affect them. And another way that we can feed them is through fiber, especially insoluble fiber. The fiber that our body doesn't use is the fiber that they use to eat and live on, which then they go on to produce all of the neurotransmitters that keep our brain functioning healthily. So through vegetables, especially beans and legumes, fruit, those all have a lot of insoluble fiber, which will help keep our gut biome happy and healthy. One of my favorites is sauerkraut. It might be the German in me. It might be the the Austrian, in my bloodline, but I love me a good sauerkraut. It's really simple to make too if you haven't made it before. It's essentially taking cabbage, chopping it really finely, and there's a couple different starter methods. Some people like to sprinkle it with salt and let it soak. Some people just throw it right in the jar with water. Some people will mash it down with something previous to it. And all these different methods, they work. You want to keep it in essentially a cool, dark place for 2 weeks to a month while it gets its little colonies flowing. And it's mostly lactobacillus, which there are numerous strains of lactobacillus. And if you're ever getting probiotics and you're buying something and you're looking at all the different kinds that are on the little jar, the best kinds are going to have a little like a number and a little letter and number afterwards, and that's a specific strain that has been that's been used and studied, and generally that kind of probiotic will have a very specific effect, which is why you'll find probiotics for mood or probiotics for energy and whatnot. So the probiotics that you'll get in the store, range from like 1 million to like 90 billion these live cultures in there. However, sauerkraut, in like a shot of sauerkraut, you're getting trillions of live probiotics. So one thing that I like to do, I've actually got my little jar of it over here, is I'll make a big jar. This one was red cabbage, which I'm getting down towards, getting down past halfway on. And I'll take a bunch of that and I'll stick it in a blender and blend it up into a nice little slurry. So it's easily drinkable. I put it in my Vitamix. And then every morning I'll just take a couple scoops of that and throw it into a glass of water, usually hot water. I thought I had a glass of hot water out here. But I'll throw it in a glass of hot water and drink that pretty much every day and get my probiotics that way. So it's a really fun way really fun for me. I mean, I like kraut a lot. Not everybody else is the same, but also when you make it this way, you can really easily throw it on other things, throw on hot dog or throw it up in the salad. I usually use it as an addition to my salad dressings. And it can be very
Yum.
multiple ways.
Yeah.
So that's probiotics. A lot of benefits to those. Also, the better our gut biome is, the more energy we'll be able to produce in kind as well, because they're not only making neurotransmitters, they're also converting different vitamins and making those assimilated as well. So, which brings me on to my next, which is B vitamins, magnesium, and omega-3. The two B vitamins that I'd like to focus on especially are vitamin B9 and vitamin B2. B9 is also known as folate, and as it kind of sounds like foliage, foliage. The nice little tie-ins to know that you can get it from leafy green vegetables. Yeah, you can get it from ripping down some foliage. Not just any foliage, though. Don't go out and start eating bushes, of course. Unless you know what the bushes are and they are edible. Getting your kale, getting spinach, getting chard. You can also get a number of different things like chlorella. It's one of the things that I like to use for it. So folate is really good for helping your body produce energy and ATP, and helping your body also formulate red blood cells. And if your body doesn't produce enough red blood cells, it's going to produce enough red blood cells. It's going to, somebody was there, had the microphone on. I got a little echo there. I think that might be Alexis, perhaps. Okay. So yeah, producing red blood cells and an energy production one of the major things that, or one of the major foods that has a lot of folate in it is something that a lot of people don't actually like to eat, which is liver, beef liver. And it's a major superfood. If you do eat animal products, I highly recommend it. And if you're open to even just like a little bit of supplementation, that would be the one animal product that I would mention, or that I would recommend to any vegan or vegetarian. If they were going to include any kind of animal product in tiny amounts, it would be beef liver, because it is just a superfood. However, for the vegans out there and vegetarians, chlorella, spirulina, blue-green algae, and nori are actually other sources, like one of the very few sources of vitamin B12 as well. B12 is very similar to folate in that it aids in red blood cell production, as well as energy production and the utilization of iron, which is also helpful for red blood cells too. And as much as you can also get folate from eggs and dairy, dark leafy greens, vitamin B12 is a very difficult vitamin to get from a non-animal source, except for chlorella, spirulina, and nori, and blue-green algae, which are getting tested more and more. So if you can especially find one that has gone through some third-party testing and shows that it does have vitamin B12 in it, then you're golden, you're solid on that. So another mineral actually that's really good for, for brain health is magnesium. Magnesium has been linked with depression and anxiety in more and more studies. They're just showing that people who do suffer, especially from chronic depression and anxiety, all have low levels of magnesium. It's just one deficiency that has been shown to come up again and again. Magnesium really aids in brain function and also relaxation. So our muscle cells use calcium and magnesium to relax and contract. So essentially when it contracts, the cells are uptaking magnesium, or are uptaking calcium and expelling magnesium. So that's when we're clenched. It's when we're flexing, and then they have to expel the calcium and uptake the magnesium to be able to relax. So if there's not enough magnesium, then there's just literally physically not as much of an ability for our muscle cells to release calcium and to relax. So it can also lead to tension and whatnot, and affect the output of our energy of our muscle cells as well. Magnesium is one of the places that it's found is chocolate, which is one of the reasons why, like, a good dark chocolate, people think like, oh, this is terrible, I'm just eating like something that's bad for me because I feel depressed or anxious or emotional and whatnot. And even though the sugar may not be the best, depending on what kind of chocolate that it is, the darker the chocolate and the better the source of chocolate that you have, the more nutritious it's actually going to be. I get a big thing of cacao powder, and I pretty much throw that in everything. If you have a grocery outlet near you, they usually have bags of cacao, which cacao is actually unroasted cocoa beans, and cocoa is roasted cacao beans. That's a difference that I didn't realize until just recently, that there's a little bit of a difference there. So other forms of magnesium, or other ways you can get them, is like sunflower seeds, which I get some nice sprouted sunflower seeds, and these are all from grocery outlet, by the way, a lot cheaper. And then chia seeds. Chia seeds, I do have to recommend, if you do get chia seeds and you want to use them, to put them through a blender first. If you've tried using them and like soaked them beforehand or whatnot, you'll notice they get this gelatinous coating, And that is so they can pass through a digestive system and then be planted in manure as they pass through. So, they're basically built to pass through and then regenerate themselves. So if you put them through a blender, that breaks their cell walls and breaks them up. So even though they'll still get somewhat gelatinous and can be interesting if you're just gonna slug down some chia, but if you're gonna mix it into a salad or something, sprinkle it over the top, throwing it through a blender or a coffee bean grinder, that can do it too. And broccoli and dark leafy greens are another great source of magnesium as well. If you want to go for like the steamed greens, like you were saying, Rose, dark leafy greens are another good source of magnesium for brain function. And so then that brings me to omega-3s. Omega-3s are a fatty acid that supports brain function as well as helps reduce inflammation in the body. They're a powerhouse for our brain health, and have been shown in more studies to help people that are suffering from depression. And not only that, but it helps make medications for depression and anxiety more effective, which is really great, because as much as I like to say, go the natural route first, focus on nutrition, there is always a time when the natural ways just won't do it. Like there's always a time for medication. I've been saved by medical science several times. Actually, my life has been threatened several times, and I've gone to the hospital. I have metal in my body. I've taken all kinds of different antibiotics, and which, if you do take antibiotics at the exact opposite time that you're taking them, it's really good to take probiotics. I meant to touch on that before, but I'm touching on it now. So there we are. If you do have to take antibiotics, be sure to take probiotics and get a lot of water in there so that you can replenish your gut biome. So for omega-3 specifically, it's really high in fish, fatty fish like salmon and tuna and cod. There's cod liver oil, which is a really great source of omega-3s. I actually have these. I accidentally got the low vitamin A kind, but I just get these little gel tablets, and they're kind of big, but these ones are like lemon flavored. Sometimes I just eat them because I like them. And then other things that I like to do, I have a few packs of canned sardines that I keep on me, thing of tuna. Like I've always got one or two of these in my car, just in times that I need a little energy, and also all the nutritional benefits to them as well. Tomorrow night I have that. Which also brings me back to one of my favorite friends, chlorella. Chlorella is also very high in omega-3s. So it kind of touches all the bases. I'm not sure if it has magnesium in it or not, but it does have B6, it does have B12, and it does have omega-3s. So chlorella and spirulina are just really nice powerhouses for, especially for people who are on a vegan and vegetarian diet, to get their essential B vitamins and omega fatty acids. One thing to note about B vitamins, unlike vitamin A, D, and K, which are fat soluble and our liver will store them, most B vitamins are all B vitamins are water soluble. And pretty much if anyone has taken a multivitamin that has 1,000% of the different B vitamins, niacin, thiamine, riboflavin, and whatnot, and then you pee and it's super yellow, like bright yellow, almost like neon or fluorescent. That's usually vitamin C and the B vitamins, which are water-soluble vitamins. Your body does what it can, and then just excretes what it doesn't need, except for B12. B12 is the one B vitamin that your liver will store because it is so essential, especially for red blood cell production. So luckily, our body's got a bit of a little safety mechanism to get that in there. So when it comes to vitamin C and the B vitamins, those are something that we just have to include in our diet regularly, just so that our body is always getting enough, because it'll just use what it can in the moment, and it'll go through that every few days. We have to keep eating different foods that have those vitamins and nutrients in them to keep our stores up. Yeah, so I definitely recommend leafy greens to everybody on a regular basis, and chlorella. It's actually chlorella, if you've never had it before, I used to get chlorella tablets, and I would just eat those by the handful. It's kind of like, it's kind of nutty, almost like a sunflower seed, like a toasted sunflower seed. And people would look at me really weird because I just have like green all up in my teeth, and I don't care because I'm well nourished and my brain is happy. So, moving on from that.
Quick question, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah, down in the chat window, I see that Rose has asked questions about nutritional yeast regarding B vitamins and B12. I just thought I would mention that is there in the chat.
Nooch.
Oh, thank you. I didn't have that chat. Need for B vitamins. Yes, actually, do I? So, nutritional yeast, anybody who's never used it before, comes in either these like large flakes, or I did grab brewer's yeast as well. And they are really high in B vitamins. I didn't find anything specifically that said that it's a good source of vitamin B12. Which at the moment my brain is not recalling whether it has any in it at all. It's a great source of most of the B vitamins, but I don't think that it is a high source of vitamin B12 specifically.
Can you say what that was again?
Nutritional yeast.
Oh. Yeast. Okay.
Yeah, nutritional yeast, or brewer's yeast is
okay.
same thing.
I got you. Sorry, I missed it.
Oh, no worries. That's all good. And then for the B vitamins, also, one thing that I do, because I started getting into eating liver for those, is I'll make like a liver pate, and then I'll freeze it and chop it up into like little cubes, and then I'll throw that into like my eggs in the morning. I'll throw it into stews. I'll pretty much just put it into whatever that I'm eating. I should put this back in the freezer. Starting to thaw. Though I know a good amount of people that are, about a good handful of people that are getting into the like carnivore diet, which, you know, I think there's people that veganism works really well for. I'm finding out there's people that being a carnivore, literally almost only eating meat, actually does work for and heals a lot of issues. And at the same time, I think most humans are omnivores, and we're somewhere in the middle, whereas there's always people on the extreme sides. If you want to be a vegan, you know, I'd say you got to add in chlorella, you got to add in nutritional yeast, you got to get these B vitamins and omega-3s that can sometimes be more difficult to get from vegan sources. And if you're going to be a carnivore, you have to eat liver, you have to eat brain, you have to eat all, you know, from nose to tail. So that way you get all of the different vitamins and minerals and nutrients that are in an animal's body. And otherwise, you know, eat your vegetables, eat animal products and meat if you need it, and then the organ meats are just really high in all kinds of vitamins and nutrients. So if you only want to supplement a little bit, you know, liver, like I said before, liver is the way to go. It's just the superfood of the animal kingdom. Otherwise, chlorella. Yeah. Yeah, thank you for that, Rose. I appreciate that. And thank you, Asa, for tuning me into that chat. And nutritional yeast. I love nutritional yeast. It's one of the best, especially when I was fully vegan. That was my go-to for like mac and cheese. Okay, so the third and final aspect that I'd like to go into is anti-inflammatory foods. One of the worst things for inflammation, causing all kinds of inflammation, is sugar, specifically cane sugar. Not necessarily all sweeteners, like honey, maple syrup. I'll literally drink maple syrup, even though maybe I shouldn't, are good. Stevia is a great low glycemic sugar or sweetener. And then there's other ones which are kind of borderline, like agave. If you get raw blue agave, that's a decent sweet, low glycemic sweetener. I think other forms of agave, your body kind of treats them like high fructose corn syrup, which can also be inflammatory as well. But to combat this, there's a number of different foods that will fight inflammation, which my favorite, which is also high in insoluble fiber for our gut biome, is avocado, which is, I'm just so happy that avocado is anti-inflammatory because it's pretty much the best food ever invented by whatever invented everything in existence.
Amber wants to know how much avocado is too much. Do you think I eat too much avocado?
I think I eat too much.
That's a person by person thing, because everybody's bodies are going to react a little bit differently. You know, certain people are able to metabolize a lot of fat, whereas other people won't do quite so well with fat. I don't know if there's too much avocado, and I think I would, because I've eaten a lot of avocado in my life, and I've never really noticed anything for.
Eat it all. Eat it all day.
Give me all the avocados.
Yeah.
Thanks for answering.
You're welcome. Absolutely. In fact, there's a really great pie that you can make that's just avocado, dates, and cacao. Mixing those up, put them in whatever kind of a. I've made traditional flaky wheat crust pie crusts, and then filled it with the raw avocado chocolate mousse filling. And then I've made crusts just from pecans, almonds, walnuts, just crushed and mashed into a pie tin, and then filled that with the chocolate avocado mousse pudding. And it can be really thick and really rich, and you think you want to eat more of it than you may actually be able to, because it's so thick and rich. And what you can do to fluff it up a bit is peel zucchini and blend that zucchini in there with it, and that'll make it nice and fluffy. And the avocado keeps that rich fattiness, and then dates to sweeten it. I recommend dates more than any like liquid sweetener like agave or maple syrup or honey, because it keeps that thickness. If you add too much of a liquid sweetener, it'll be a little too, it won't thicken up enough. So yeah, thanks for asking, Suzanne. I don't know if you can have too much avocado.
I say no.
Other anti-inflammatory things: greens, broccoli, salmon, walnuts, coconut oil, and one thing that I would like to get into more is turmeric. Now, turmeric, its main component is curcumin. Curcumin is super anti-inflammatory. However, it's not super bioavailable in just the turmeric form, whether it's raw or whether it's powdered. I get once again, Anthony's from Grocery Outlet, get a big thing of turmeric powder. And what can make the turmeric powder or fresh turmeric more bioavailable are three things: heat, fat, and black pepper, or the pepperine in black pepper. So what I'll do is make a big pot. I'll take like a cup or two of the turmeric powder, throw it into a pot, and and add oil until it's got a, not exactly like a super liquidy consistency, but not just super thick. You want to be able to move and stir it. And it's essentially like a pinch of black pepper for every tablespoon of turmeric you throw in there. So if you're going to do like a cup of turmeric, you want to do maybe a teaspoon or two of black pepper, along with coconut oil or butter. I suppose you could do olive oil if you were doing some turmeric to add to different curries and whatnot. You could use coconut oil for that, or olive oil for that. Sorry, I use, actually this time I think I used butter, but I usually use coconut oil, and I'll make just a jar of it, which has been in the fridge, so it's hard. It won't spill out of there. And then anytime that I want to make this really great drink called golden milk, I just take a spoonful of this, I throw it in a pot with some rice milk or coconut milk, or I'll make some oat milk or hemp milk, or if you want to do cow milk, that's totally cool too. And I'll throw it in there with like some honey or maple syrup to just sweeten it up to taste. And when you combine turmeric with the honey, or when you combine turmeric with the fat and the heat and the pepper, it makes it 2,000 times more bioavailable. Rose just added liver to peanut butter and chocolate smoothie. It was delicious. Way to go, Rose. I don't know anything that I would ever think of, but heck yeah, liver and peanut butter salad. Now I'm going to have to do that. Right. Thanks for bringing that. That's fun. So yeah, if you want to have a great, even just a great evening drink, and it can, if you make it nice and sweet, it can fulfill that Suzanne, Oreos. No. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but Oreos though. So yeah, the golden milk is a great nighttime drink as well, and helps really combat that inflammation that will affect not only the gut, but it'll affect the brain and the whole body, kind of send that anti-inflammatory goodness throughout your entire body, which can also ease arthritis and muscle tension and help your body recover from a workout. Excuse me. Even though inflammation is a great stage of healing, it's not always the best when it goes too crazy. So hopefully you all can jump into making some golden milk at some point soon. So that is the three topics. Where am I? Wondering if y'all want to do a little pop quiz Jeopardy for our activity here.
Sure.
Okay, great. So I didn't quite have the time to make up the Jeopardy, like choose the thing. So I'll just throw out some Jeopardy pop quiz questions, and y'all can tell me what you think the answers are. All right. So Jeopardy, the way it goes, formed in an answer, and you give me the answer in the form of a question. What is? What are? All right. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Rose probably making the peanut butter chocolate liver smoothie back there. Really want to try that. That sounds interesting. Okay. Answer. These are the vitamins that help the body create energy and red blood cells, as well as chemicals that support the brain and mood.
B12. B vitamins. B12.
B vitamins.
All of them.
B12.
B vitamins.
Indeed. Y'all are correct. Okay. This is a food containing trillions of lactobacillus microorganisms.
Sauerkraut.
Sauerkraut.
What are sauerkraut? What is sauerkraut?
What is sauerkraut? Mom,
Pickled cabbage.
Mom gets the win for the Facebook question.
Cabbage.
Good stuff. All right, how about this is a condition that can negatively affect the brain and the gut biome.
What is, I have notes. What is
Serotonin.
Serotonin.
No, that is what will
No,
help the brain.
that will help. What hurts?
So causes
What is antibiotics?
condition that can negatively affect the brain and the gut biome, as well as the muscles and the joints.
What condition?
And maybe I should have phrased it
Anxiety.
a little bit better.
Oh, yeah. What is anxiety?
No.
What is depression?
What is inflammation?
Inflammation. What is inflammation?
Wait, are we doing
course.
My bad.
All right, next question. What is a mineral commonly found in dark chocolate, avocado, and sesame seeds?
Magnesium? What is magnesium?
What is magnesium? Very correct. Ding, ding, ding. How about what are water-soluble vitamins found in beef, liver, eggs, chicken, and difficult to find in unfortified vegan foods?
What is insoluble fiber? Oh wait, no, water soluble.
One that's very specifically difficult to find.
What is vitamin?
What is B12?
Asa with the
B12.
brain.
There it is.
Well,
B12.
that is right. Which I didn't mention before. A lot of different grains and cereals and whatnot are fortified with vitamins nowadays. So I don't even eat cereal anymore. So it kind of blanked out of my brain. Okay, so what is a fatty acid found generally in fish, such as salmon, but also chlorella, that help brain function?
What is
What is
omega-3?
DHA?
Yeah,
Omega-3?
What is omega-3? Great. All right, we will go to what is a nutritious algae containing omega-3 and a great source of B12?
Wait a second. Suzanne, whatever you're doing is interfering with the sound.
She muted. She's good.
There you go. Okay. Ask that again, please, Zachar.
What is a nutritious algae containing omega-3 and also one of the great vegetarian sources of vitamin B12?
What is spirulina?
Spirulina.
Spirulina. What is spirulina? I phrased that into a form of a question. I failed my own Jeopardy.
It's okay.
Spirulina and chlorella.
And chlorella. Yeah.
Chlorella is a little easier to actually just eat. In something that's a little more nutty, spirulina can be a bit fishy sometimes, depending on your source. Okay. So now we are going into questions for y'all. What about this thing did you already know, and what was new to you? Like, all right, let's start with you.
I guess something that was new to me was chlorella. I actually haven't really heard much about chlorella at all. So I had no idea that you could get a bunch of B vitamins from chlorella. And my range of foods that I get B vitamins from is really limited. So I was happy to hear about that because I can probably find it at grocery outlet.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else surprised? Anything new to them? Or anything they?
Well, I did not know that there were trillions of probiotics in the sauerkraut. You posted the recipe, and I'm excited about making it. And you and I have had it, and it's delicious. But I guess I've forgotten how beneficial that is.
Mm-hmm. A little bit of rendering for you.
I'm also excited to try your sauerkraut water recipe.
Yeah, I usually do it with warm water. I feel like it a little bit better. Warm water, I'll add a little bit of salt and a little bit of lemon to it. Makes a good drink.
All right, my mom's got a thing for you.
Okay.
I did not. And cocoa. I thought that cocoa was cocoa when it turns into something sugary and sweet.
Mm.
But what you're saying is that cacao and cocoa is different because of the difference between it being roasted and not roasted?
Yeah. Cacao is raw and cocoa is
Yeah.
roasted. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
So,
So how about would anybody have any? Or actually, let's go with this one. Anybody have any ways that this could? They feel like this could be helpful for them in the future. Like how?
Well, something that you had said, because I find that sometimes when I go to bed, I start getting racing thoughts and my heart starts pounding.
Mm-hmm.
And your suggestion to get up and move around, give your heart a reason to be doing that, really makes a lot of sense. But why does that happen? Do you have any idea?
I do. I'd love to go into that in another conversation. We can talk about that later. Yeah.
Okay.
Totally.
Thank you. I'll make it.
Yeah. Anybody have any like aha moments or ways you're like, oh, like you were saying, Ari, with the chlorella. Anybody else have any aha moments during the discussion?
Well, I feel like it's always been true that if you eat better, you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, that is definitely true.
oh, hi. Back to the cacao and the cocoa. I'm curious to know, does the nutrients levels change in that when it becomes roasted rather than it being raw? The reason why I'm so curious about this is because I know that cacao is very good for you. It's good for your brain. It's good for your heart. And so, yeah, my question is just if it loses the nutrients once it becomes roasted.
Oh, I do remember reading that, and at the moment, I can't say with certainty what does happen. I do know that there is somewhat of a nutritional shift. I don't believe it affects the magnesium level at all, because that's just a mineral that doesn't get affected by the heat that it goes through. However, I do believe there's an effect on the oil content of the cacao. It may be when they extract cacao butter from cacao and then creating cocoa powder. However, I can't say exactly if that is sure, but it is something that now I'm gonna look up after the discussion so that I can be sure next time. So,
Popular go-to, so it sounds like it doesn't compromise the molecular structure of the magnesium. That stays intact.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, this is great. Thank you, because that's such a good go-to for anybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. People are generally really happy when they find out how nutritious cocoa and cacao are. Okay, so next little discussion. I'm just curious. I feel like I'm railroading through these. I'm working on my time management, and I want to be respectful of my teacher's time, who's going to be watching like 20 of these videos. So the next thing that I'm curious about, or would like to generate a discussion, is what you all feel like you can take from this discussion and give to other people, bring to other people. Like you were saying, Moonshadow, about the nutrition of cacao and cocoa, and how it's a great thing to share.
I guess my partner is vegan and has been very strictly vegan for about 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And he has mentioned feeling exhausted, like chronic exhaustion a lot of the time. And I don't think he knows about chlorella or spirulina. So I guess like a big takeaway from this for me was that I can not only get myself on chlorella and spirulina, but I think it might help him like with his feelings of chronic exhaustion and stuff, because to me it sounds like he has some nutrient deficiencies. And because he's not willing to eat meat, we've been kind of like confused about
how to get him feeling better. And so it sounds like maybe getting him started on some chlorella and spirulina supplementation could be a direction for him to go in to restoring some of that.
Nori is also a really good one. Seaweed is another thing. Nori specifically, and that's the only one that I've read about that's been in tests, studies. But I imagine that other seaweeds as well could be high in B vitamins and whatnot, which will definitely help improve his energy levels and his energy production. Or I believe that it will. Yeah. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, trial and error. We'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, please do.
If I can get him to take it.
Yeah, there's a number of different factors that can all influence our body's ability to produce energy. Also, B vitamins, especially B6, B12, and B9. B12 specifically affects our body's ability to uptake and utilize iron, and that also goes into blood production. If he's not having proper red blood cell production, then his energy levels are going to be affected as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, Zachar, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hey, I'll go ahead and add something really quick, too.
Okay, great.
Spirulina, I wanted to second that as well. That was really helpful. I didn't quite know about spirulina, and so I will intend to make some of that, part of my diet more often. Great. And your information on golden milk, actually, I kind of had a woohoo moment here on my own because I try to tell people about golden milk all the time. So it just doubles down on the health benefits of inflammation due to turmeric. So both of those were helpful. I mean, I've explained to people golden milk, but to now kind of hear it from someone studying nutrition is also more helpful for me.
Nice. Yeah, I find that a lot of people's eyes open wide when you tell them that the combination of heat and fat with pepper makes it 2,000 times more bioavailable. That way you don't have to, you don't have to use as much. One thing that I just recalled to mention with that is that you don't want to have it every single day, like every single, evening or morning. It's something that you want to give your body a little bit of a break from. So maybe 2-3 days of golden milk in a row, and then give your body like a day or two off and kind of cycle it in and out of your diet. Because we can have too much curcumin, which is a great reason to add the fat and the pepper and the heat, because then you don't actually have to consume as much and you still get just as much benefit.
Is golden milk that powder that you showed us?
Yeah. Golden milk is the turmeric, fat, and pepper mixture.
Okay.
You taught me this a long time ago, and it just dawned on me that this would help our dear friend who's recovering from surgery.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Also, just be sure to have them check in with their doctor before adding it in there, because I'm not sure what other medications that they could be on, and you always want to check with, especially after surgery, and especially if they're on medications, just make sure that it's not going to interfere with anything that's already going on with them.
Okay.
I wanted to, this is Moonshadow, I wanted to mention about turmeric. It is a natural blood thinner. And so, yeah, you're right about that, talking to their doctor because of surgeries, bleeding, things like that. So I tend to, I'd be very careful about turmeric, especially if there's any concern for, brain disorders, heart disorders, things like that.
Yeah, because if they've just had surgery and they want their blood to clot properly, then they don't necessarily want that. But
good thinking, yeah.
Later in their healing process, perhaps.
Okay.
Great, yeah, thanks. Good sharing, Shadow.
I'm like you, but you're better than me. I'm learning so much from you. This is fantastic. I'm so excited. Yes, really engaged, enjoying what you're doing. Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. I'm happy to share.
Yeah, that's a lot of information, Zachar. It's wonderful. I took notes and I've got 4 pages.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll take big notes like you, Mom.
Yep.
Well, cool. We're coming to towards the end of our session. If there's anything anybody else wanted to share, Rose, I know you are also you studied integrated nutrition, I believe, Rose. Wondered if there's something you wanted to toss in this minute.
I missed what you asked.
Oh, just checking. I know I remember seeing on your page that you studied integrative nutrition. I'm just wondering if there was anything that you wanted to throw in the mix, or anything that you were happy to take from it.
Yeah. I'm a nutritionist. I've worked in 3 stores for a really long time, and I'm a personal chef and all that stuff.
Nice.
It was good to have like a refresh and remember liver, because I was on a bit of a liver kick for a while, and then it's just hard to eat sometimes, man. But I want all the benefits. So it was kind of a good reminder. And I liked how you freeze it in cubes and then smoothies. And then actually something is if you pair turmeric with vitamin D, it helps prevent Alzheimer's. So it's like super good for your brain, as well as all the inflammation benefits as well. So
yeah.
Other than that, everything pretty solid.
File that away in there. Turmeric and vitamin D.
Mm.
Cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Good insight.
I have a tidbit really quick. I have a friend who makes these liver pills. They're called Mother's Best liver pills. And so I know like liver is super hard to eat for some people sometimes, and like supplementation is sometimes easier. So her website is Mother's Best Liver Pills, and she processes them all in Northern California. So it's local enough for those of us that live in California.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Mother's Best Liver Pills.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ari. All right. Well, thank you all for attending. I'm really glad to be able to share with you all the benefits of probiotics and how to make sauerkraut and a nice little sauerkraut drink for you to be able to take it every day without having to necessarily, have a sauerkraut salad as well. And then the benefits of folate, vitamin B9, and vitamin B12, magnesium, and omega-3. Really happy to share that all with you, as well as the benefits of anti-inflammatory foods for depression and anxiety, and how amazing golden milk and turmeric can be for even more reasons now, with that addition from Rose of the vitamin D and turmeric. So that's really great. I think this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you all for joining in. I'm going to have an evaluation form that I'm going to send out to everybody. If you could fill it out, provide me with any feedback that comes to mind, and send that in to me tonight or tomorrow would be great. So thank you all for coming. Once again, I'm Zachar, your helpful friend for bringing different forms of nutrition information to the masses, hopefully. Rose, I'd definitely like to connect with you later and learn more about how you got into what you're doing and bringing it all about to actually do it professionally, which is the next step on my list. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Want to say goodbye?
Okay, how do we turn it off?
At the top, it says leave.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Mom.
It's bedtime for me. It's 9:30. It's 10 o'clock. Bye.
Good night, Holly.
Good night, Suze.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all. Thanks for coming, everyone.